folks, Jack here from Peach Guitars. You join me once again with the absolute pleasure of talking to undoubtedly the most disgustingly handsome man we've ever had on Peach Guitars YouTube channel. It's Ross Bailey. He's back from Line 6 and Yamaha.
I thought you were going to say Greg Dunning.
No, he doesn't count anymore. He's part of the team, but you know, it's always been you. It's always been you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, mate. How are you?
Not bad at all. Yes, good. Thank you. Still getting used to this concept of talking about products and whatnot over a computer screen, but
yeah, kind of weird, but we're figuring it out.
We can do this, and at least, you know, even though there's no touching today, we'll be fine. There's still a good chemistry here. So we've got a couple of things we want to talk about, new from the Line 6 camp. So very, very recent announcements. I had no idea these were coming until literally days ago. We've seen the new PodGo now with a wireless capability, and the HX Stomp XL. That's a lot of letters. So we're going to just have a general chat about both of those things in this video. Any more information or tonal clips that people may want to hear will be able to be found on our YouTube channel very soon, once I manage to get my hands on one. But you've had your hands on the new stuff. So what's the kind of general setup going to be with these new products? What would you say their intention is?
Their intention, I mean, well, if we start with the kind of slightly easier ones, so PodGo Wireless.
Yeah.
And with both of these products, I suppose it's a show of Line 6 do listen to our customers. And, you know, we do take note of what people are saying, not just models of specific products that they want to see, but actual features, functionality, and in kind of entirely new products. And when we launched PodGo originally, that there was a lot of people saying, I wish it had wireless built in. So
that's what you've done.
Here we are. And it is, the short version is, it's literally a PodGo with the G10 built in.
So exactly the same form factor.
It's exactly the same. The difference is you've got your wireless kind of receiver there, and there's a nice little dock right there. So that stores your G10T2 or your G10, depending on which one you've got. And then you just pull that out, stick it in the input, which is there. I've got my glasses on, and that does the charging thing.
It's a really nice system, the G10. If anyone doesn't know about the G10, it's been out for a little while with Line 6, and it's one of the easiest things to use because it is literally that. It charges with the same socket. It's just a standard jack socket to charge it. There's no batteries to worry about. And now the actual unit is integrated into that PodGo. So you can just turn up to a gig with that one box, pop it in your guitar, and you're good.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, the whole concept with PodGo was let's do a product sort of more in keeping with the original Pod, which was a lot more simple than Helix, and obviously the whole Helix family of products is all about, you know, all the functionality that you could possibly want, parallel loops and this, that, the other, and MIDI and all the real clever stuff. But there are a lot of people that don't need that or don't want that. So they did want something a little bit more simple. They don't need parallel paths and so on and so forth. They don't use MIDI. So it was like, right, okay, well, here's PodGo, and this is just a real stripped down version, but we still use the same HX models. So again, we could have gone, well, here's some, I guess, old technology or legacy technology, if you like, and keep the price down. But it's like, well, why would we do that when we've got this awesome HX modeling platform? Have the best that we can give. Because of the nature of PodGo, we couldn't fit quite everything in. So there are some, a handful of models that just wouldn't go in, but it's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the PodGo, I remember when it came out and just spending a bit of time with it, is that you realized you've got, like you said, it kind of trims away some of the fat. And if you just want that Helix experience, you're basically going to be paying, it's not quite half the price of something like an LT, I guess, but it's a significant amount of money less than having to go down the full Helix route. And it also, of course, offers you way more flexibility than the Stomp, for example, by itself.
Yeah, totally. You've got kind of with Podgo, you've got the expression pedal built in. You've got a few more switches, but you still get snapshots, Stomp functionality, things like that. And it's just so light.
Yeah.
And a cool handle on the back. So,
I didn't know.
Yeah, there you go. Every day's a school day. Podgo, I guess the clue's in the name. It's designed to throw in your gig bag, take to the gig, sound awesome, and not really worry too much about building pedal boards, which you can still do. You've got a mono or a stereo effects loop on there, so you can add your favorite delay or distortion pedal or whatever. You can still do that and still assign that to a switch and turn it on and off at will. So, it's a pretty awesome product if you just want simple. But with that said, you can still do a ton of stuff with it. With the amp out, you can actually split the signal off. Kind of like you can do with Helix with the clever routing, but in a more simplified version. So if you wanted to go direct with the amp model and the cab model to the PA for your ears or for sound consistency or whatever, but you needed something on stage, you can use
a real amp.
Yeah, if you've got an amp or a power amp in a cab, then the amp out can feed that, and then you've got something kind of behind you making your flares flap.
Quite, yes. And yeah, it just makes things like that easy, because sometimes signal routing is a real head scratcher for some people, and the fact that Line 6 have obviously considered that already, even more so now that you've got wireless built right into it. You don't even have to figure out how to hook that up.
No, sure. Yeah, so it really is just a plug in and go kind of deal. So it's pretty awesome. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, well, let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
If that exists and is so functional and so well thought out, why does the HX Stomp XL need to exist with a similar form factor, similar kind of level of function?
Oh, what this?
That thing right there, yeah.
This right here.
What's the deal with that?
Again, we kind of go back to the Line 6 listen to their customers, and kind of going back, Helix comes out and everyone goes, wow, that's incredible. And Helix Rack, they were the first two products that we launched. But then there were people saying, well, I don't really need the scribble strips. I don't need 4 effects loops. I don't need this, that, the other. Mm-hmm. So we did the LT, which was a stripped down version. No scribble strips and, less IO, so on and so forth. People then ask, well, I don't want to use amp models. So we do HX Effects. And then they're like, oh, I wish HX Effects had amp models. So we kind of did a pedalboard friendly version, which was the Stomp. Mm-hmm. And obviously with the Stomp, it was kind of like, oh, right, okay, we're kind of almost there. For a lot of people, and I was using HX Effects on a board, that got replaced by the Stomp, because for me, I figured out, well, sometimes I don't want to take an amp to the gig. I just want to go direct, depending on the gig, or I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to lug gear around. So the Stomp was fantastic, and I used that on a pedalboard with the switcher and all manner of other stuff. So I kind of used it as it was, I guess, intended as part of a larger pedalboard format. But again, customers were buying it and saying, oh, well, I wish I kind of had more buttons, because it's only got 3 buttons, 5 if you add like a little momentary thing, but you can't do that if you're using an expression pedal for the wah and volume, so on and so forth. So they were, maybe buying an external MIDI controller.
Because just to quickly clarify for people have asked before, okay, so the HX Stomp is very capable, and with the recent update, you've now got 8 blocks available per preset. But Absolutely. People say, well, there's only 3 buttons, so how do you get all that functionality out of it? So, like you were just saying, that's naturally where people look to bring in external pieces of gear to help control it.
Yeah.
But the XL just packs it all into one thing.
Yeah, which I did. I got the Mission little TT2 dual momentary switch. So I set it up that would be my preset up and down, so I can kind of quickly without and like yourself, we kind of both play in bands and setups where you need to kind of switch sounds pretty quick. And 8 blocks is fantastic, but sometimes you've kind of used those up with maybe a couple of different drive pedals and a modulation and a cab and so on and so forth. And suddenly you need to go to kind of maybe the same sound, but instead of a phaser, you need a chorus, or you need different things. You can do an amount with snapshots, but you can't obviously swap a model out. So that extra little switch for me was fantastic.
To change to one entirely different preset.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's still kind of, I guess, using an external thing, another external piece of gear to minimize my time switching between presets. And I mean, to be quite honest with you, I didn't need it, because kind of going back and going through the switching, it's quick. It is really quick to get from one sound to another.
Yeah.
And the great thing that we introduced recently for 3.0 was the command center functions. So the switches can actually do anything you want. So the first foot switch could be actually toggling between 2 different snapshots, or 2 different presets entirely. The second foot switch can be maybe a solo boost, which turns on, a level boost, a delay, and maybe some extra gain. The tap tempo can still be the tap tempo if you use that. If you don't use that, that could be another snapshot or another preset. So you can actually program the switches any way you want, which is really cool. But you're still limited to kind of 3 switches on the actual unit and 5 if you add something extra. So enter Stomp XL. And I think this is, certainly for me, this is the Goldilocks zone. So it's like, right, okay, well, I guess out of the box, you've got access to 4 presets and or 4 snapshots. And the operation's really simple. So 4 presets there. If you press these 2 buttons together, then this turns into snapshots. So you've got 4 sound, for anyone, just very quickly, for anyone that isn't familiar with snapshots, it's kind of it's like the film Inception. So it's a preset within a preset. And that goes completely down the toilet if you've never seen Inception, but you should, because it's a really good film.
Well, I haven't, but just to put it a different way slightly, it's basically if your preset is, for example, your pedal board, the snapshot is basically like you've paid someone to run on stage and change a bunch of settings very quickly for you. So you haven't changed the pedal board, but you've changed various parameters instantly, and there's no latency or anything like that.
Exactly. It's the same as if you were using kind of a loop switcher. So you imagine your rig and you've got an amp set up and you've got a head and a cab or a combo, and then you've got a pedal board with a bunch of different stuff on it, and then you've got a loop switcher that turns multiple things in and out at the same time, and maybe changes the channel on your amp or adds a solo boost or so on and so forth. That's essentially what a snapshot is doing. So you program a snapshot, it'll turn multiple things on and off, but it can go deeper. So if you like the sound of, a Plexi style model, clean and dirty, you don't have to put multiple versions of that amp model in. You can actually go in and change parameters with a snapshot, and you can actually change 64 parameters at the same time, which is pretty insane.
So do you get more, because the HX Stomp by itself had 3, I believe. Do you get more snapshots with the XL?
Yeah, you get, it's one louder. So it's one louder, so you get 4, and obviously 8 buttons. So the actual functionality, so it's 4 presets, and then bank up and down. If you push these 2 together at the same time, this turns into snapshots. So 4 presets, quickly 4 snapshots. If you hit the mode button, that will go into Stompbox mode. So you can actually either program a snapshot in real time, or go, well, actually, I fancied this today, and just go in and use it like a regular pedal board. And in Stompbox mode, this becomes 6 switches, and they will, whatever you've assigned to these in that rig, If you've only got 3 things in your chain, then only 3 foot switches will show up, kind of thing. And it all kind of comes on the screen. And actually, despite the screen being fairly small, it's really visible. You know, I mean, I'm kind of a big guy, and my eyesight isn't particularly great anymore, and I do all right seeing it. So yeah, I think people will be fine with that. The mode switch also gives you access to the hands-free editing, pedal edit mode.
Yeah. So this is the other big thing I think that's really useful to people. Maybe just carry on with explaining what that was. Sorry.
Yes. No. It's all good. Yeah, pedal edit mode is something that goes back to the original Helix. So, and I always use the example of, I play with a bunch of different people, and one of the guys I play with, we play Beat It. And I'm Lukather and Van Halen in that song. So there's not really any time to bend down and start tweaking the preset. And I always forget that when it comes to the solo, I'm not Eddie Van Halen and I need more gain. So there's been a bunch of occasions where I've been feeling really lazy and I'm thinking, oh, hang on a minute, the solo's coming up. My solo preset needs more gain. So I can actually go into pedal edit mode, because you can't stop playing in that song. Right. There's
so you basically you hold the mode switch and it allows you to turn the foot switches into controls essentially, and you can turn things up and down by pressing the buttons.
Yeah, exactly. So, because I always forget, at the moment, you kind of you're going for it and you forget to do stuff. You can save that. So it's really good if you've maybe programmed presets at home and then you get to the gig or the rehearsal studio. You can tweak those presets on the fly, and it's not limited to pedals or anything. Absolutely anything in your chain you can select whatever parameter you want and then tweak that up or down accordingly. So you can actually program the sound in real time in context and then save that, which is brilliant.
That's really valuable. Yeah. And I like a lot of that functionality has been ported from the HX Effects. But you've now got all that capability of it being a great MIDI controller as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got the amp sims at the same time.
Yeah, totally. So, and I don't think the kind of MIDI side of it is maybe talked about enough. And there's a ton of different MIDI controllers out on the market now. Some of them inexpensive, some of them really expensive. And this now, and in fact, any of the HX family is a full-blown MIDI controller. And it can do anything that any MIDI controller does. And you've still got things like scribble strips, or on HX Stomp XL, virtual scribble strips, so it comes up on the screen. So yeah, you can kind of, and you can incorporate that into snapshots or presets, and there's a ton of different things that you can do with MIDI. So if you just wanted to get this as a MIDI controller, great, and then actually, for that MIDI signal, I want to add this particular effect or change to this or whatever, then you can do that too. The command center, again, with this, and like I say, this is when I talk about the Goldilocks zone, for me, this is perfect, and I'm trying to shrink my rig down and do more with less and go, well, do I actually need 6 or 7 different overdrive pedals on my board? No, but pedals are fun, so why not?
And it looks good.
And it looks cool, and you impress other guitar players. No one else in the room cares.
Of course,
No one.
That's what our industry thrives on.
Yeah, but guitar players in the audience, especially when you play Beat It, they come from the bar and they go, "Come on, then, let's see what you got."
Yes,
then,
quite.
Then the nerves kick in. So with the command center, and this is kind of how I'll personally set mine up. I will probably live within one preset, largely because I'm lazy. Mainly 2, or mainly 1 or maybe 2. So in command center, I've got the bank up and bank down, my 4 presets. When I hit the mode button and go into Stompbox mode, and you go into the command center, you can program these buttons to be anything you want, right? So if you actually want to, you've got 4 presets there, bank up and down. If you want to hit that mode button and actually have 6 presets, or 3 presets and 3 snapshots, or 2 presets 3 snapshots and 1 instant act shots, which would be clean, crunch, kind of more.
Version of being a mini Helix.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That's basically what it is now.
Yeah, you know, you've kind of got that slightly more simple stomp functionality with the 8 blocks, and you know, maybe kind of going, right, okay, well, yeah, with full blown Helix, you can have 32 different blocks and go crazy, but that can actually, for me, that can get really messy really quickly, and you suddenly, again, you're not really thinking about playing during the gig or during the session. You're thinking about, oh, what overdrive pedal do I want with this? So, you know, it kind of, I guess it limits you to an extent, but it also makes you play more, which is great.
Yeah.
And I like this because all the connections are on the back.
Yes, that's one big thing as well for pedal boards. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, totally. There's your volume control as well, so it's kind of recessed. So if you don't knock it, but yeah, full MIDI, you got USB, still an interface, so you can still do recording with it. You've still got stereo or dual mono effects loop. So if you want if you've got 2 overdrive pedals or you know, an extra delay or whatever, or external effects, you can still loop those in. If it's a stereo effect, then you can do that. If you've got 2 different pedals that you want independently of each other, then you can do that, and it's just TRS to dual mono, and happy days. So you can do a lot with it. Again, the outputs, depending on what you want to do or the situation you're in, the outputs can be line or instrument level. So if you're doing full cable method, you'll want it on instrument. If you're going straight into the PA or an interface, then you'll want it on line. Same with the inputs. So it's not, you know, we're all guitar players. We talk about this being a guitar unit, absolutely. But if you play keys, put your keyboard through it, you know, or your saxophone or pedal steel or whatever. You know, you've got all of that functionality as well. So it's pretty cool.
Very nice. But there's lots of info there, and it just never ends, does it? Because I mean, I did a video myself where I was talking about just put a new rig together with the HX Stomp and a little external controller, and then I think the week later or something, this was announced, and I thought, okay, great. But that's evolution. If you pay attention to all the details, then there's always going to be something that's edges it forward, and this seems to make a lot of sense. And at the same time, you've got the Podgo, which if people don't want to think about all that MIDI stuff and scribbling and whatever other buzzwords you were using there, if you just want those sounds and you just want to plug in and go, the Podgo is a great option for that too.
Yeah, and you've hit the nail on the head there. It really is, you know, MIDI is a very scary world, and the vast majority of people, I think, don't need it. So if you don't need it, well, then you don't need it, and Podgo's maybe an option. So I think, you know, and I do see people getting a little bit slightly confused with the range, like, well, do I want this or do I want that or do I want the other? And I guess, like, if you were building a real rig, what are your actual needs? You know, it's the same sound quality, so you're going to be golden. If you need extra function, if you don't need amp models, HX effects, you know, if you want to replace an entire rig and do some really crazy stuff, then maybe full Helix is what you want. So it's just kind of looking objectively and seeing which one suits you.
Makes a lot of sense, and hopefully this video has helped anyone out there with some of those questions. Yeah, really good information. Likewise, if you do need more info on any of these products, then they'll be linked below to the Peach website, and you can find out all you want to know about all the Line 6 stuff. And there is plenty of it, which is good.
Yes, more as our favorite Swedish guitar player once said, more is more.
Who can argue with that? Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Russ. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all your wonderful knowledge. Thanks for showing us your beard today as well. Take care of yourselves, and hopefully we'll get to see you in person very soon.
Yeah, man, definitely.
All right. Take care, Russ. Thank you all for watching. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.